Good day, everybody. My name is Biola Akinsomi Oyerinde. You can call me Biola for short. I'm a senior software engineer with Andela. I think I've been working with software for I can't remember how long when. Um, Briefly, that's about me. It's a big honor to be part of this great event. I think I must appreciate the team that's put this together. When I saw all what you had put out and how you planned it out, I think it's really good to commend your efforts, and thanks for having me or giving me the honor to be here. Um, so when they shared what they were going to talk about, I said I was going to talk about from a developer, which I'm a software developer, like I said, to you QAs, how we can build strong dev QA collaborations. Can you guys hear me clearly, please? If I'm speaking too fast, please let me know.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so like she said, the reactions is fine. You don't need to talk. Thumbs up, smileys. For people that are used to working remotely, I think these are things that pass as communication. So it's fine. You don't have to probably open up your mic. So like I said, I'll be talking from a developer to a QA. That's you guys, my friends and all, both the experienced QAs and the new QAs coming on. How we can build a strong dev QA collaboration. So that's what I'll be speaking about probably in the next 10, 15 minutes. I shouldn't spend time. So like I said, I start by saying the goal of everybody in tech, aside maybe those that might have come in for the money, is being able to create great software, right? And for me, if I can give back my own reason why I kind of dived into engineering about several years ago, this was the only aspect of engineering I felt I could create something with the least barrier. How do I mean? If I'd gone into mechanical engineering, I had to work in maybe a big manufacturing company or start to get some set of toolings to probably get things done. If I was to work as a chemical engineer, I might have to at least get to a big factory somewhere where they either do something relating to that to get working. If I was to do something in civil, that's be a construction company. But then tech was just still coming up, and I felt with just a laptop and a few things, I could start creating stuff. So, like I said, the goal is to create great softwares, and great softwares are not built by developers alone. The idea with my think is, yes, developers write the code and all that. Like I just mentioned, but you have like the designers, product managers, testers, the QAs, the honorable QAs, and even the stakeholders and everybody to come out with great software. It's a challenging task. It's not just a one way. There's a pathway from beginning to end across the whole product cycle. And it's not just developers that have a role to play in here, right? So since there are so many people involved, effective communication, alignment are crucial for creating a success for these products or whatever you're building. Just coding without looking at every other person or considering people or even just considering other people on the team doesn't create good software. And one of the core people on this team are the quality assurance folks. That's the QAs, right? Um, if you can hear me, please, a thumbs up is fine. Just to be sure I've not dropped you somewhere and I'm moving on. Can you guys hear me? Are we flowing?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So as I said, while the developer is building and doing everything, the QA guys have to test, make sure code is like check the code, check the functionalities, test across everything to be sure what they are building is robust and reliable, right? So you guys help to identify bugs, ensure the software meets requirements, standards through different methods and testing, which you guys are skilled at. And this is why you guys are very crucial in getting any good software pushed out. Um, but most times, this is one of the two tiers of this the team that most times have issues. We have this dev QA relationship that is often misunderstood. And there are a lot of memes if you go online, you see where the QAs are actually dissing out the devs or the devs are dissing back to the QAs. Some devs have made some QAs life terrible, some QAs have made some devs lives Horrible. But I think while we have new guys on board or the experienced QAs here, I'm here to just talk on how we can change this narrative from a blame game to where we can actually pull our strengths to collaborate and do something good, right? And strong form a strong team that collaborates together. If I'm good, thumbs up is fine. So, like I said, we're not opponents. QAs, onboarding QAs, old QAs. The idea is we are here to work together. The idea, you're not learning to become a QA to be like, we are going out there to catch these bad guys, or we are going out there to battle these guys. It's not a war ground. We are not here to say, that guy, I'm going to show him tomorrow, or whatever he does, I'm going to bring coming out to show their flaws. I'm coming out to like find all the bugs. I have to show them where they are failing. That's not the idea. The idea is that we are both working together, build something great together. That's the idea, together. So when you have this, what I'm going to be talking about is more about the soft skills area where most of you might actually need to consider when you are working, both the incoming QA guys and also anyone that is probably lacking in these areas. So the idea is to always approach testing with partnership in mind. You are working as a team. So if you look at how a team is built on most teams, the QA guy is part of the team. You're not on the other side of the board. Always have this in mind whenever you join any project. So you have to understand the dev mindset, like the developer's mindset. So you understand how developers think, because the idea is you're going to be in bed with these people for a while. You need to understand how they think, right? So most times this leads, if these things are not clearly understood, you could have a lot of conflicts. It could affect even the project, aside from people's emotions, or just the project in general could actually be affected, right? So I itemized just a few things which I think you need to try to do while you're working as a QA on a team when you start working on any project, especially for the new guys. You need to learn how the devs think, understand what they are trying to do, or probably why they might have done something, both in trying to help them and trying to find out issues or optimize what they're building. You need to understand how they think. You need to understand the trade-off of deadlines, pressure. Sometimes devs are like, you need to know what the team is working on. For example, if the dev guys are like trying to push so many features at a time, how do I prioritize what I'm testing? How do I clearly understand these guys might be stressed? I clearly know how do I put it, manage issues. Let me give you a scenario. You imagine you being a QA guy and you're new on the team, probably your first gig, and then there's a crazy deadline coming on. And because you're a very hardworking QA guy, you didn't take time to probably do proper tests, collate all the bugs and all that. You just go like, hey, Bayo, this is not working. Look at this issue. And while he's looking at that, you come again with the next one. Oh, this is not working. Can you look at this? While he's looking at that, you're not understanding probably how the team is moving, understand what is priority, the pressure going on, what is a trade-off. For example, like saying, you know what, if you have a deadline tomorrow, probably we need to tone down on this feature area, test more on this area. You need to be in the know as part of the team. Also understand strange things that could happen aside the normal test cases you might be testing against. This is even very common in, for example, front-end task, whereby you are testing and there are different ways to see how things could happen, whereby the test says build something that you click on the button. Meanwhile, you came on a different browser, you test it, it's not working. You have to understand how to come back and report this, like, oh, I tested this in the browser. Oh, I've tried out this different way. And these are things I found out, not just coming out to be like, it is not working. You like to bring out things you've explored, knowing how you are contributing to the team, understand how things could be different. If something is not working based on maybe something you found out how to use it differently, you should know how to present it better than saying, oh, the feature is not working. Then I'd say, okay, you know what, I tried this way, and I think it's weird when I open my browser this way. If I scroll this way, even though it wasn't mentioned, is this something we think we can look at this point? You have to be clear in how you're sharing your communications. Race conditions are, for example, a feature is coming out, it's going to affect other things, multiple things are going on. You have to know how to handle those matters, especially in a developer's point of view. Developers are actually working at one thing at a time. So since you're part of the team, you have to know how to manage your communication with them at the same time. Like I said, ask about why behind implementations. I've noticed sometimes some QAs just feel like I'm going to chill at the back until when it gets to my table, and then I'll start testing. Always try to understand what you're doing. If there are product meetings you could have some insight about. If there are some documentations you need to read first, Always try to know why. Don't just come in from like the wall on the end of the road. Try to understand what you are building, understand the why something is going on. In that way, if you see maybe there's something that's acted differently, it will be clear for you to either report properly or test against those other areas. So it's good to think in this mindset whenever you join a dev team. Don't just log bugs, tell stories. For example, don't just say, hey, this thing is not working, and you take the ticket back, for example. You are the guy that is working with the team. You are like the goalkeeper at that end, whereby while you're reporting something, do your extra test and report it properly. I'm sure they probably have shared this with you if you've had some of your trainings, or for those that are probably starting off. You have to know how to pass on clear communications and not just reporting the bug. Oh, I tried this when I was trying this. So, for example, this was a very concise one anyway. The login button is unresponsive. Some people could just say that, oh, I clicked, it's not working. But you could actually say, oh, the login, after I clicked one click, the error I saw was this on this browser. You have to know how to make sure you pass clear communication to the guy that whoever reads it can see, okay, this guy has tried this thing in different ways and is clearly telling me what he's experiencing, not just throwing things back at me. Be specific and contextual, just in the same thread, whereby you are clear and you're bringing out context. You're not bringing out something out of the case, and you are like bringing it into the whole story because you can, as you have the power. Just be specific and contextual. Um, so like I was trying to say, the best Q is you have to join in conversation, be part of the team. Don't just feel like you are at one corner of the place. Be engaged. If the tickets are not still coming, take time to know what they're working on. If things haven't gotten to your desk, try to understand what is being built, read documentations ahead. If you have ways of writing your test cases before they come, just make sure you are part of it and not just someone that's chilling at the end of the block to feel like I'm going to show these guys when it's time, when the plate comes to me, let me show them I'm working. And you start like just being like a wall without being part of the team. Suggest useful test cases. Exactly. Like I said, some things might have not been specified. You could realize, okay, you know what? I think this could be tested this way. Maybe these are edge cases that were not factored in here. Let me raise up these test cases. Can we test against this? Just show you're part of it. You're being part of this whole thing even makes you a familiar face, whereby you're not just one person that shows up after everybody has put so much hard work and you're like throwing things up in the sky. Show you care about the product, yes. So there was something I was telling someone long ago that I was like, you know, when you're working on the team, the goal is the product, like what you're building. I agreed we might have a few things going on here and there, but the love to the product is the key. You don't like someone's big head, you don't like how he talks to you, although you might address that in different ways, but the goal is to make sure you are clear about what you're testing and not trying to say, when is this guy's ticket? I'm going to show him Pepe. Try to get involved in the product itself, understand about it, get to know, um, sorry, get to know, please just a minute, let me get on this call. There's the mouse. Interestingly, I can't see my mouse. Can you guys hear me clear?
Yes, we can. We can.
Okay, just a minute. Oh, okay. Yes, so where was I? Trying to wrap up shortly. So I said yes, show you care about the product. And also one other important thing is feedbacks. Be open to feedbacks from people. Don't get thrown up. While you also give feedback, be open to hear feedback from people, like hear from both sides, hear from the dev, hear from people who surely come back and tell you, oh, I think this could be done this way and all that. Try to build towards greater relationship. Don't be too sensitive. Um, it's very crucial when working on a team with dev guys. Um, Also stay open to learning. No one knows it all, like I said, because you've done some courses and all that, or it's done this way. Always try to be open to learning. So my final message says, you know what, QA guys are the guidance of quality user experience. You're not standing across the devs, you're next to them. Be curious, be kind, build bridges. And when we both work together, I'm sure we can make magic happen. So I think that's about it. That's what I wanted to share with you guys in a brief. Hope that was enlightening. Thank you again.
Thank you so very much for that, Mr. Biola. I hope everyone learned one or two. Please note down your questions. There's going to be a session for tons of questions. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Biola. We have other speakers in the house today. I'd just like them to just unmute for a bit
Alpha,
and just briefly introduce themselves.
you hear me?
So, Mr. Biola, please can you mute? You're unmuted.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine. So I would like to introduce a couple of our speakers to just unmute and introduce themselves because they are the ones that are going to be listening to tonight. So first on my list is Mr. Ademola Badmus. Please could you unmute and just introduce yourself for a bit? Thank you very much.
Please go around. I'm attending to something. Please go around. Come back to me, please.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, great. We have our female PM in the house, our mama. Everybody say hi to Miss Miriam Yunus. Please could you unmute and introduce yourself?
All right. Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's awesome to be here. It's an honor to be part of this mentoring session with everyone. As Jennifer said, my name is Miriam Yunus. I'm the current head of product at Kunda Kids, a edtech and education media and publishing company. And with over 10 years experience, my goal here is to be the advocate of quality from requirement gathering up to post launch. So if you have any question around how we gather our requirements, how you matter in the development process, what the role means to me and how it is executed, please start packing your questions because I'm happy and I've been able to answer them as much as possible. I'm not an engineer, so I'm going to tell you as it is. I am the middleman between business needs, tech needs, and user needs. So happy to answer any questions you have. Thanks for having me, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Miss Miriam. So everybody, as you heard, I hope you have your questions ready because tonight we're going to feed our curious minds a lot. We also have Mr. Badmus, are you ready for us, or should I just call in our very own Toby Oluwatobi Fagongbe is going to be answering all your QA related questions tonight. So, Mr. Toby, we all know you, but you can just introduce yourself a bit for those that don't know you or maybe joining for the first time. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's why we have Mr. Badmos here. We'll be answering most of the QA related questions, while I'll be here to answer one or two questions. But yeah, everybody already knows me, Oluwatobi, and thank you. So over to you, Motalan.
Okay, so that's it. So while we're waiting for Mr. Badmus, let's just take a few questions. And of course, we cannot ignore our very own the person that just presented to us right now, Mr. Biola, speaker in the house. We can't ignore him. He's going to be answering everything related to developing how we can make it work and all of that. Okay, Mr. Demola Badmus is ready for us. So, sir, please can you unmute and introduce yourself
Yeah, thank
now?
you very much. Yeah, sorry about that. I just quickly needed to attend to something. So my name is Ademola Badmus. Just Ademola Badmus. I don't do titles. I don't do Mr. I don't do Sir. For those that know me, they know that I don't do that, and I really take exception to it. So please, moving forward, just call me Badmus. So
Okay.
let's just state that fact first. So moving on, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. And I've been a QA for 12 years now. 12 plus years. Yeah, 12 plus odd years. And um it's a pleasure to be here. I'm ready to answer the questions to the best of my ability. And I think it's going to be a fun session because questions might arise and the developer in the house would have a diverse opinion. And probably the head of products in the house would have a diverse opinion on that subject matter. But just sit back and relax and watch how all of us would arrive at the same conclusion, perhaps from just a different point of view. Once again,
Okay.
yeah, thank you
Okay.
for
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Badmus. Okay, everyone, start making note of the Q&A session to drop all the questions you have. We'll be picking them one by one to, of course, for our speakers to start answering them. In the meantime, I have a few questions of my own that I'd like to ask. Just a minute, please. Okay. Please start collating your questions, okay? Thank you very much. Okay, so this question is for for the three of you, for Miriam, for Biola, for Badmos, but I just like to briefly talk about it. I mean, I'm sure everybody already knows what a QA, a PM, and an engineer does. But what has been your experience working in cross-functional teams? Because I think every one of you works in a cross-functional aspect because to develop a product, a PM has to be involved, an engineer, and obviously a tester for quality. So what has been your experience working in this? And how have you personally, not just the generic answer, how have you personally navigated collaboration challenges?
Is that
Can
for me?
you
Yeah,
That's for all three of you, but we can take it one by one.
ladies first.
Okay, Miriam.
All right,
So please.
so Kalani, next time just call the first person you want to answer the question so that we are not waiting
Okay,
for.
I will do
All
this.
right, it's okay. So, how have I? Can you take the question again?
So, what has been your experience working in cross-functional teams, and how have you personally navigated collaboration challenges? Because they definitely will be.
All right, thank you so much for that question, Kalani. So, the thing with working with cross-functional team or distributed team is there will always be things that are peculiar to the kind of team you're working with. As a product manager, I have had to work with different teams. So, for the sake of this meeting, I'll call everybody that are engineers and product and software development teams. And outside of those teams, I have worked with marketing, sales, C-suite, business analyst, data analyst, and all of that. Now, and also we've also worked with different, those are like cross-functional teams, right? And a distributed team across different countries, working with people in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Iraq, in South Africa. One thing you need to understand is you need to ensure that communication is very, very important, right? Both written and verbal. And communication also should be effective, right? You need to understand your audience, what is important to them, and how you communicate that. For example, a CEO does not want you giving them a 20-page report that does not make sense, right? For them to spend time reading that. Go straight to the point, give them facts, give them things that help them make decisions, graphical illustrations, data, insights. That's what C-suite and business owners want. For marketing, they want to know how leads are performing, the source of the leads, what the product should do, business personas. For QA wants to know where is the Figma design, where is that. The QA is reporting to me as a product manager. I want to know how many bugs are available, which one is critical, which one is high, right? If I want to go deep down to know how to create the issues, I can easily go there. So communication is very, very important. And it's not just communicating, it is effective communication, right? Communicate at a level where people can understand. Another one is also empathy, right? This is not sympathy, right? This is where you put yourself in the shoes of who you're communicating with, right? In this case, you're trying to ensure that you are speaking and you understand at what point both of you connect. Before you get to this, there's something called stakeholders management. Understand your stakeholders. We have internal and external stakeholders. You need to understand at what point who directly impacts your business or your product or your task, and who are the people that you just need to inform, and who are the people that you need to manage, right? For me as product, QA is important for me. There are people that I need to work collaboratively with, right? In businesses, CEOs, they need to be informed of decision that we're making and approve. Now, for marketing, we need to carry them along. For sales, during development process, they just need to be in the know. So you need to also understand your stakeholders and manage them properly. Now, when you're working with distributed teams, teams that are not in your current dialect, Now you need to understand nuances. Now, if you say Germans are very, very blunt. So if you want to work with them, you need to understand that the things they are saying to you are not out of anger. It's not because they hate you, but that is their culture, right? If you have to work with South Africans, for example, you need to know that they take their work very like at their time, at their pace, even though it is still going to be quality. If you're working with Nigerians, it's fast or nothing. We go hard or we go hard or we go home. So it's also very important that if you're working with distributed team, you also and people across different cultures that you also understand the culture and the nuances of those culture. I think these 4 points are enough for now, and I'll allow the other panelists also chip in. So I think let me just call on Demola Badmos.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Miriam. That was an amazing answer. So, Padmos, over to you, please.
Well, I guess the question is about my experience working with a cross-functional team and how I handle situations, right?
Yes, please.
Well, so let's put it this way. Everything that I'll be talking about today will be centering on one word, empathy. So with empathy, that's how I get through with everybody. You're working with a product designer, you're working with a developer, you're working with a scrum master, a product owner, and all that there is. And all of them have different feedbacks and different pressures that they are actually dealing with, and they are going to bring that to the table. So one thing is, with empathy, you'll be able to communicate clearly and also establish boundaries. Because more often than not, from a QA perspective, QAs are more often than not turned into slaves. Like they want QAs to, in some cases, you find developers wanting QAs to do their job for them to a clinical way, to a clinical position. But with empathy, you can let the person know that I have given you a detailed bug report. I don't need to start inspecting the network tab to tell you the particular API error. I have given you detailed steps to reproduce it. You built it and you must have tested it before you gave it to me. So if I've given you a detailed way to reproduce the error, you can go through that same thing and get that error, and you can tell by yourself what is happening. Rather than me guide you through it, go and help you get the error code, go and help you get this. I shouldn't be spoon feeding you. I have a lot of things to do because I still need to go through everything. But the point is, while I am documenting that error, how am I documenting it? Oh, the words you choose to use in your documentation also matters. You have to take empathy to that granular level. Saying this has been verified, this is not working. It's not good. Think about it. Try to just put yourself in the developer's shoes. Have you spent hours trying to abstract an idea to make it real? If you have not spent hours to do that, if someone has spent that amount of time, what do you do? How do you present it to the person when the whole thing comes a bit less for lack of a better word, it's not meeting expectation. So how do you do it? How do you talk to the person? You have to use empathy. Rather than say, this is not working, you could say, these are my observations. These are the things I observed, and you give a detailed description of what you observed, how you got there, and what you're expecting based on the requirement document, right? And the same way, if you feel like the product owner is rushing to deadline, and you feel there are some important parts that are going out, rather than say, this cannot go, we cannot let it go now. Come with an understanding that the product owner has an expectation to the client, has an expectation to whoever he or she is answering to, and say, I understand that you expect that this thing should be done, but these are the reasons why we can't go ahead. When those reasons are quite cogent, nobody would go ahead like that. I can cite instances where this has happened. Protocols were jumped because of pressure, and they wanted to go live. And I said, we can't go live this way because Whatever test that we are going to carry out is going to be just exploratory testing, and we needed more than that. It's a fintech, it's a financial payment app. Because I was empathetic, I was able to get through to, funny enough, the person I was even talking to was the DCTO, who was my boss. So I was able to communicate with the person, and we agreed on using a checklist. Lo and behold, the first API I tested was a monumental fiasco. Let's use that word. Let's use that grandeur word for it, because how can a payment app, how can a payment API be able to make countless transactions with the same transaction reference? That's a very big loophole. But if you had gone at each other's necks, even by the time we begin to see these errors, there would be underlying animosity, like, how could he talk to me like that? I'm his boss and all. But we're able to solve this thing. We also that, oh, this is a very big error, and we needed to go back to the drawing board. So everything I'll be answering today, just know that it will start from the angle of empathy, because you are not just there as a QA, you are there to actually maintain process. But in the in that particular, I don't want to say process twice. When you're trying to maintain process, you should be able to let people understand what you're trying to do without making them feel like what they are doing is not enough, or just make them feel like, okay, yes, they have given enough for it, but there is a need to improve, without making them feel little about it. So everything centers on empathy. I have had situations, and Toby could attest to that. I have had situations where it was during my learning process too that I learned these things. I've had situations where developers actually stood up to me, and everybody at work, that Toby was there, we were working together there. Everybody thought that he was going to beat me up. But I was calm. He was angry, he was livid. And I think my calmness even angered him the more. He thought I was gaslighting. But in my head, I was thinking, you don't quench fire with fire. I know what I saw was not working. But he was angry that I said it wasn't working. And I felt if I was calm and he was outraged, maybe we could balance things out. But because I was calm, he was even angrier. And I learned later, like, that the way I was talking back at him didn't show empathy. He called me names, and right there and there, I was trying to correct him not to call me those names. It won't help anything. But I learned from that experience, and I became more empathetic towards talking to every other part of the team, especially when I need things to be done. Another example why empathy is really important is, even if you feel, oh, you for QAs, you would have experienced, for those that have that are experienced QAs, you would have worked in some environment where they don't really want to spend on infrastructure. So the way the whole infrastructure is structured, it is not really ideal. You can't really have high level confidence tests, but you know that this thing is essential because of the nature of the product. How do you present it to the upper management? It's still with empathy. You just need to let them see the pros and the cons and the financial benefits of investing in such things. And you see them dance to your tune. I'm done speaking.
Okay, so Rosita, thank you so much for that, Dimola. Empathy should not be underestimated. Thank you so much for that. How about you, Yola, please?
Okay, I think I'll be adding to what I don't know what the name of the first person that talked again. Sorry, if you can remind me her name.
How's Miriam?
Okay, Maria Demola. So the thing I'll say is I've worked on like several teams, so like from different at different times. I think most times I've always worked on this kind of scenarios. And the thing I'll first say is in that kind of specific case, hold your own end. That's the most important thing. Hold your own end. If you are the QA person, make sure you are the solid QA person at your own end of the rope. If you are the product person, make sure you're bringing in your 110% of the end, because it's first the most crucial part of it. Take out sentiment, take out emotions. He spoke to me this way and all that. the goal is the product, right? Hold your end, be the best at your own end. And by the time you do this also pertains to everything what they said about empathy and all that. If you're coming back to give contributions and it's clearly about getting the product better, it will be clear at what your intentions are. I can't have an argument with you yesterday, or you said something to me and I'm picking it up tomorrow and I'm saying, okay, I'm not going to answer this guy's tickets anymore, or I'm not going to discuss this feature anymore. There's a current project I'd worked on. I think Toby is aware of this for like some years, and it's actually been crazy, like high level crazy, top level government people from different angles. And the interesting thing is just at your own end, hold your end fine, because people are trusting your own side that it's done while they're focusing on other things. And regardless of what's going on at the center, you are that position of where you are in this team to handle yours. That's just the only thing I want to share.
Okay, thank you so much. So you can see we got effective communication, we got empathy, and we got holding your own end, being the best at what you do. That's another way to actually navigate proper collaboration between all three teams. Now, this question is for Demola because you said all your entire answers will be around empathy. Someone asked what collaborative training or shadowing initiatives can be introduced to deepen empathy and understanding among the QA, PA, PM, and engineering teams.
So I missed
Did
that.
do you want me to read it again?
Yes, please. Or is
Okay,
it in the
said
chat here?
Yeah,
it's
the
in the
question is in the Q&A section.
Q&A section.
Oh,
It's
right.
in Q&A.
You can go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so what
Can
collaborative
can I take
training?
a quick dab at that? And
Okay,
before we answer it, let us answer before you move it to answered live, before the
okay,
Mola goes. So
okay.
we as professionals, we are always throwing the word empathy around, right? So for the sake of people that are here that are just starting out, I think defining what empathy means is very, very important. Now, there is sympathy and there is empathy. Sympathy is pitying someone. Empathy is to take someone else's perspective based on what you know about them, putting yourself in that person's shoes, um, like more or less on the surface level, assume how do you think they would feel, possibly, and also use that to also respond. Now, in that use case that Demola said, where he said it was calm, but he was still responding to the person, and that those were triggers. At that point, that person is probably stressed and has been working on that ball for a very long time. And the way you are answering is also not helping matters, right? So we need to understand that empathy does not mean that you are supporting the person. You are putting yourself in the shoes of that person at that current point in time and trying to ensure that you are understanding both cognitive and emotional processes at that time, right? Understanding and sharing the feelings of another. That's what empathy means. Now, in a business or a corporate world, how do we find a way to make this because Shala's question modeled like two different things together. So collaborative training and shadowing initiatives that can be introduced to deepen empathy. Most QAs that I know are always isolated within the software engineering team. Not a lot of QAs right now, especially working in a global company or a big enterprise, have been able to move from their own development team into other teams like marketing, like sales. So they don't have those understanding. And when they get to work with them, there's always conflict, right? So in cases where these are the things that I have done that I have seen work, which is cross team sharing. We have this during our onboarding process where we go through different teams to understand how they work and at what point my department or my role interfaces with them, right? Sometimes we call them in other teams we call them brown bag sessions or knowledge sharing sessions, right? Also, these are also done by companies through role shadowing. All of these are packed with some onboarding processes, but if you don't have it in your company, make friends outside of your team and try to understand how that department works. But please don't let it be at the detriment of your deliverables, right? And there's also demo feedback and meetings. Now, most of the time in some organizations, it is only the PMs that demo. During our sprint demo, only the developers do sometimes. In cases whereby it is through the pilot phase or beta, when the app is stable, QA should also take the opportunity to also take demo or join demo meetings outside of their team and see how people are asking questions and the type of questions they are asking. I've had a case of there was a product that we're building. It's a physical product. It is both a physical and software product, hardware and software. And then I made one of my QAs go present that. His name is Shola. I can do it. I know everything about that product. So when he got to that meeting and people were asking him questions, then one of our sales team said something. You people don't. You people. These people are just building. You don't know how we're going to sell this. This is not sellable. And during that meeting, my colleague was very hungry. At this point, it was a mid-level QA. So he doesn't understand that you people are not building for users. You're just building because you want to build. And then he was angry that you people are not listening to the training. I was like, no. I was like, shall I can we? And I now told everybody to calm down. I said, okay, why did you say that? What are the things that we have built here that is making this product unmarketable? And then he started asking Shola questions, putting him on the spot, asking him question on the same product he is demoing. Now, this also allows you gain perspective from different departments that you don't currently work on. Also, understanding joint retrospective. Retrospective is not whenever you do sprint demo. I encourage teams to do retros, and retros can also involve people that are not in your exact team. When you tell them what are the things we did better, what can we do better here while we're demoing, what are the things we have not currently aligned on, right? And sometimes we also do like these bash sessions where we tell people from other team, send them the document, send them the app, just test it and give us any feedback you have, internal in this case. And then we start hearing different use cases that we are thinking are not important for launch, but they are use cases that either a CS person, customer success person, customer experience person, marketing, sales, that will have to answer on a day-to-day basis. One of the most critical questions we got was from a social media marketer. And that question was from things that customers have told them about our product. So these are ways that you can use to improve training and shadowing. Role shadowing days or custom workshop, demoing outside of your team and waiting to actually understand, listening to understand the feedback that they're having. Day in my shoes, brown bag sessions, a lot of them, right? I'll drop this in the comments, in the answer so that you can also take your time to read it after this. But I don't know if if Demola also has something to add to this.
Okay, Demola, do you have anything to add to that question, please?
He said she took a dab at it, but the dab came with a cutlass. I and we sort of spent a lot of time on things. I don't know how we can move things fast because we gonna end in 12 minutes. So the thing is this. You ask for a collaborative training or shadowing initiative that can be introduced to deepen empathy and understanding among QA. The thing is, just raise your level of curiosity. Try to understand what goes on in the world of a developer. Try to understand what goes on in the world of a PM. Try to understand what goes on if and reverse is the case if a PM know what goes on in the other fields as well. So you can have like a perspective because you can't reach that height of empathy if you don't even understand their point of view. And for a QA, it is quite easy for you to be able to at least understand the developer because if you say you want to scale, you have interaction with automation at some point. If you want to scale, you have interaction with performance testing. And the tools available for performance testing, if you're not going to use JMeter, everything, the other tools require level of understanding how to code. So which means you would pick up programming languages. So by the time you pick that up and you see how abstract things are, it gives you an understanding that, man, this what these guys do is not a cakewalk at all. It is quite big and all, and you would need to take a step back when you want to talk to them about some things and be like, well, if I had been the one that had gone through what they just did, because when you know how long it took you to understand what is happening when you are doing just print hello world, when you understand how you got there and all that, it gives you a fresh perspective when you want to talk to the person. And as a QA in some organization, you wear different hats at times. I found myself doing the work of a BA before. I've found myself doing the work of a Scrum Master before. In fact, I worked at a particular place that for months I was the one training them on Scrum and Agile, and I was QA. People coming in, developers coming in, even PMs coming in. I was one training them on Scrum and Agile. And that one cost me because I can't just be telling them based on my experience from my previous employment alone anymore. They wanted to understand how to use Agile and scale with it. I had to go to Coursera to pick up a course. And what got me there? I realized that when I got to the company, they were using Excel sheets to monitor tests. I was like, you have better informed tools. Do you want to be passing Excel sheets on Google Docs all around? We have better monitoring tools. We could be able to measure velocity. So when they had me say things like sprint velocity and all, they're like, okay, you understand Agile? I said, well, to an extent. Say, okay, we actually paid for Jira, but we are not using it because we don't know anybody that understands this thing. But since you understand a bit of it, champion it. Then I didn't just say, oh, I only know little. I took up the challenge. I bought a course in fact, I didn't buy a course on Coursera. If you know what to do on Coursera, you just this is recorded. We shouldn't be saying this. So I bought a course on Coursera. That's what I'm going to stick with. And that's the last thing I said. If you like, don't edit your video. This is what I'm going to stick with. I bought a course on Coursera concerning agile methodology. I understood it better and I communicated to the team, taught them, right? Did the best I could with it. And the longer it took me to keep teaching, the better I got at it. Because I wasn't repeating the same thing. Each time we have new intakes and I need to do the agile onboarding part, I will go and study again because I have not been sitting down with it. I've been practicing it. I've not been teaching it. They are two different things. So I have to go and learn it again. And each time I have a fresher perspective about it. So it goes down into trying to live in those worlds even if all you do is just step into it for a minute and step back, it gives you an idea of what goes on there. So you'll be able to speak with empathy and also communicate better with your other team members.
Thank you
I hope
so
that
much for
answers your
that.
question. Please, if it answers your question, please type yes.
Okay, please, if it answers your question, type yes in the chat box. Thank you very much. So we have another question here, and it's on the sheet. She says, how do you navigate a situation where you are the only QA and female on a project, and you are also new on the team, but your inputs are not considered serious enough, and the product owner keeps pushing for product release? Most bugs you find are considered not crucial and most times overlooked. Okay, this is a QA and she's a female. I'd like Demola's feedback first because it's a QA, and then if Miriam can just
Hope
chime
Miriam does not want to take a dab at it again.
in. Oh, I'd like you are a QA, and then Miriam can
Okay,
handle
so
the
the
feminine
first
part of
thing
it.
I want to say about this question is please, when you get to any work environment, leave your gender at home. When you're being recruited, they did not say, maybe in Germany, they do, I don't know what that MFH means in Germany, in German job ads. But when you get to the job itself, you are playing a role, not your gender. So always leave that thing at the back of your mind. And this is the reason. I'm guessing the person that asked that question is in Nigeria. We have this particular mindset in Nigeria that, okay, I'm a lady in the society. The society is sort of a patriarchy infused society, so to speak. Please pardon my parlance. It's like a man's world. They want men to talk and all of the and whatnot. So if you already have that mindset that I'm a woman, right? If you say I'm a woman, you've already put yourself on that back foot that your opinions won't count. So remove that one on it. Now you are the only QA. You should understand the nature of your job, that you are not just testing bugs, you are to define processes, right? And being that gatekeeper, you need to have a voice. So the first thing is first look internally. How exactly are you documenting your bugs? If you're been documenting bugs and saying, okay, you found this bug, this is the way to reproduce it, and they've been dismissing it, add something else to bug reports. Bug report doesn't just stop at, oh, this is the bug, this is the bug statement, this is how to reproduce the bug, this is the expected result, this is the actual result. No. Remember that on your bug ticket, if you're using Jira, you'd assign a priority and you assign severity, right? Because you've assigned priority and severity, you can go a step further and explain the impact of the bug. Nobody would see an impact of the bug that looks like, oh, let's say, for instance, you realize that any password is accepted, or not any password. You realize that if you do a simple SQL injection type of test, maybe you put a paragraph in the password. If you put like 2 paragraphs in the password box, it breaks the login logic and it allows anybody to log in. And they are ignoring that kind of thing. That's a security loophole. Or you find something and you realize that, oh, this is a financial concern. We might lose money on this. Communicate it effectively and keep your receipts. That's the other part of it. Because if it blows back in the kind of company where your opinions are usually overlooked, if things go wrong, it's still the QA they will first blame. They'll say, how did it pass testing? Because funny enough, I think Toby is always witnessing all the big events. There was a place Toby and I worked. Beginning of the week, I'd been telling the developer that the stage environment is not okay. Everyone ignored me. I had receipts for it. I created a bug ticket that stage environment is not okay. Please look into it. They didn't do anything about it. And they deploy every Friday night. The lead engineer went ahead on Friday night and deployed from his own local. Before he did it, I tried to stop him. I said, you can't do that. That is not the way the process is supposed to be. We are supposed to test this thing on stage. I've not been able to test it on stage. We can't deploy. While I was trying to stall him, I was trying to get the engineering manager involved. But unfortunately, he had deployed before the engineering manager could get in. Guess what happened? Over the weekend, checkout was broken. And we lost, I think, $50,000 or maybe it's $500,000 that was lost over the weekend. And on Monday, they called the engineering manager into a meeting. They were blowing out. The CTO and the CEO were blowing out and everything. And the engineering manager came to the QA room and grabbed me by the neck. I was just dropping receipts. This is the chat I had with them on the group. This was the private chat I had with the engineering lead. This was the ticket I created. This was me telling him this. And you remember that I called you. So I was able to save my neck because I documented everything properly. I stated the impact of not doing the right thing, and I kept my receipts. So when he blew back, there was something to fall on. But the thing is this, the most important part of this, your question is, do not for a second think that you are being overlooked because of your gender, right? You are just being overlooked because that company itself is treating testing as an afterthought. It is not your father's company, but it is your own prerogative as a QA in that company to try to let them realize the dangers of treating testing as an afterthought. Once you find something, they should actually attend to it. So it starts from how well you present something. You see, let me just round this off by saying this. You see, it's possible for me to tell you you're stupid, and it is also possible for Miriam to say the same thing, and you will take offense from what Miriam has said, and you will laugh at mine. It's all in the presentation. So maybe you should change your strategy towards presenting any bug at all. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much for that, Bimola. If that answers your question, please
Can
leave
I give a
yes in the
comment
chat
just
box.
quickly, if you
Hello?
don't mind? Can I give a comment
Okay,
real quick, if you don't
okay.
mind?
So,
So the thing also is, I think when I talked about you holding your own end of the team, there are several ways to look at this. It's I'm not trying to wash down on your report, say your view of this, But you should also probably check first of all is, am I really proving myself as a QA? You were employed as a QA person. Put aside your, like you said just now, put the gender thing in your head. Even take it out of. If I were you, don't even think about it. Focus on the quality of your work because that's what you speak for yourself. If you're employed as a QA, maybe if you say they're overlooking it, I'm wondering how they survived that far. Probably, I might be wrong. You also need to probably improve on what you're doing. Make your work speak for itself. That's the only thing you need to do. If you keep your consistency at what you do, unless if the place is getting toxic, I think you have to leave and all that. I think just focus on what you're doing. If you've document everything like you said, do everything properly, probably there are things you are not clearly reporting. In a very short while, it will show. It will surely show. That's the idea. And that's your work. I also consult for several people. I've done this for like 10 years plus. And the thing is also the same thing. Sometimes you're not the boss, you're not the CEO. Your work is to come there. It applies to anywhere. Do your job. At the end of it, it will speak on that. That's what I want to say. If the place gets too toxic and it affects you, then maybe you can need to discuss with an HR at the point. But primarily, you yourself, get your work to speak for you. That's all.
Thank you so much for that, Yola. Get your work to speak for you. Okay, we're running out of time, but let's just take the last 3 questions there, and that's it for today. So this person is saying, if we add one process change to improve collaboration, what would each team propose? So I'm guessing by this, all three, the engineering, the QA, and the PM team has to answer this question. So I would ask for Miriam to go first. Please let's keep the answers brief. If we add one process change to improve collaboration, what would each team propose? Please, very brief answers. Thank you. Miriam, please go first.
Advice, let's spread the question across, not everyone answering the same question because of time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Demola should answer that question.
Okay. Demola, can you answer that, please? Are you there?
Why me? So the most important thing to me that would really be lovely to see is to see that teams treat testing, they stop treating testing as an afterthought. Because testing should actually start when development starts. You build your first pipeline, give it to test. Let us see that, yes, the pipeline is actually based on what you have created. And I think this thing mostly happens in Nigeria. Sorry, this is not trying to take a dig at Nigeria. Where I work presently, we are trying to transform from Angular to Next.js. We're on Angular 18 and we are trying to go to Next.js. They've not written a single line of code in the pipeline first, but they've told me to go and create an E2E setup in the pipeline. All they did now is just create a pipeline that, okay, can launch the app. That's all they've done. Can launch a URL. That's all they've done. But they told me go and create. So I've created a skeletal E2E thing inside that will just also test that the app is launched and verify the title. That's all that is inside. So if I see it would be nice to see companies not treat testing as an afterthought. Like they would have gotten somewhere in the development and okay, let's start testing now. This is when we can start giving people, they would have done maybe like 4 or 5 APIs. Now, what about the pipeline? So more often than not, you now see a place where they've already structured their pipeline, they've done everything. You now want to introduce automation into it. You now need to start refactoring how you are doing everything. More often than not, I just get there and I be like, look, don't even stress me. You can be triggering it. I'll just create a separate repository, then you can trigger it. That's your headache. But it shouldn't be like that. It should be part of the pipeline as well. So as you keep building, the QAs too can start testing and they can even start building the automation, whether for backend or for front end. So it'd be nice to see where companies not treat testing as an afterthought.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Demola. So this question is for you, Biola, as a developer. It says, how early is QA involved in your development process? How early did you get the quality testing team involved in your
This
development
one should
process?
now come to me.
Actually, funny
So
enough, The two I see are actually very similar. So maybe
Yeah,
I just talk from the cover it out, then you take it off from there. Because I just read these
yeah,
two that are
sure,
kind of in the same
sure, go ahead.
Okay.
So what I think is the thing I wanted to also make it clear is I think everybody thinks QA is just a role. It's not like it's not always like there is a QA person that is a QA. I don't know how to explain this. In development itself, there's actually a kind of development called test-driven development, whereby in a team, before even the external QAs come, you as a software developer, you need to even test. Test is crucial from the first go. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So there are companies I've worked in whereby before you write any functionality, this is like I said, test, you have to write the test first. Even among the team, there are people responsible for testing at that level. So regardless of whatever you're doing, from the get-go, just like what Demola said, you need to know how to be sure. Even in Demola's case, it was very critical, I'm sure. The fact that you're migrating, you can't migrate 50% and start checking whether you're migrating correctly. You need to start from your incremental migration because the more work, the more chaos you're creating across team. Part of things you were talking about before, communications, everything is going to go haywire when fire starts dropping. So to avoid this, from the get-go, those three things you mentioned, your second question applies to. You need people to play this role. They might not be full hats on these roles, even if it's a small team. The idea of test needs to be planned from the get-go. And as it scales, you also need to scale that arm of it also because it is very, very crucial. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think Miriam wanted to say something.
Yeah, like Biola said, the second and last question are the same. So for me as a product manager and being in this space for a very long time, and also as a certified QA as well, QA is manual tester. I'm not started doing automation. QA is important for me from the beginning, even from requirements, especially for product that already exists, even the ones that doesn't. During the ideation phase, probably we will not have QA into that because we are still trying to figure out what we want to build. But for product that already exists, QA is important from the beginning. Once you're adding any new feature to it, from requirements, from design. I've had sessions where I actually have QA review the design and see how it impacts whatever we have not done, right? And QA's inputs are always very, very valuable because for me as a product person, QA are my last line of defense, right? Before I go to production. So it's very important. Now, to now answer the question that Tayo sent, which is how do you encourage your organization to always make use of the three amigos process before implementation? Most times QA only come in when the product is done. So the first one is for the product manager themselves to ensure that QA are not a leg. What I do is I have a software testing specific agile process whereby testing is key at every point in time. Once requirement is ready, we share with them, we review it. Even reviewing and calling nuances to requirements is testing, right? And also, even you as a QA, you also like Demola said, you also have to take initiative. Oh, we're about to build a new feature, and you ask them, hi guys, what's that? You need to understand what the roadmap of your company or your team is for the entire year. What is coming, at what point it is coming, who we are building for, and also follow up on what exactly are we building right now. Can I see the requirement documentation so I can create the test strategy or the test plan and all of those things? So you have to be proactive as a QA yourself. Now, you also have to ensure that you are not just being proactive, but you're also giving value to the organization. Like Demola said when he was answering the female question. So don't let your gender or your current level in the company makes it look like you're also not delivering quality as an employee. It's not only about testing, but also quality in your processes is also important. Work with your team, your line managers to create a process whereby QA is infused into it and also ensure that you are actionable. You are focusing on insight to also ensure how this new process is improving your software development and the product you're checking out. So that's the summary for me. If I answer the question well, feel free to drop a comment on the chat. I will. That's all for me.
Hey,
Thank you.
wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Badmos. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Biola. You made this session amazing. I'm pretty sure everybody learned one or two from this. If you have more questions, please note them down. We're going to be having Q&A sessions in between, not just today. There's going to be another one tomorrow. So thank you all so much for joining. We really appreciate your time, your insights, your knowledge. Important to each and every one of us here. Everybody say thank you to them now. I'm not seeing your thank you in the chat box. Say thank you. So I think that's all for today. We'll be wrapping up in a bit. But the main thing that I learned is each of these teams are codependent on each other and they can't function alone. The PM definitely needs a QA and a software engineer, and the software engineer most definitely needs a QA and a product manager. So everybody is important. So please thank you all so much for that. So I think that's all for my end. Sato, did you have anything to
Yeah, I just have one question, and for Miriam can take this, and I think it's going to really help with QAs. So the question is, what does it mean for QA to take full ownership of quality from backlog grooming all through deployments?
You just like putting me on the spot.
You know, ownership is becoming a concern because I've been getting feedbacks, interacting with people, different organizations complaining how QAs are not taking full ownership.
Yeah.
We just think it's all about testing and reporting bugs. So I to advise us on, what it really means to take full ownership from the very starts to down to releases or deployments.
All right, thank you so much, Toby. And I'm glad you brought that up question up because that's one thing we are still fighting and talking about last week. So right now, QAs need to know that their role has evolved from just being given a ticket to test, right? Ownership for me from QA is understanding everything that makes the user have the best experience in using that product. Ownership for me is the QA being the advocate of what the business goal is met with that product. During requirement, ownership for me is looking at that particular requirement documentation, or even if it is in Jira or any other tool you use, that everything that we have defined as processes and as high level requirements, right, it has been catered for in your documentation. And your job is to think critically, understanding loopholes, what I have not thought about, what we should be thinking of in the product. During the Jira swim lane or your swim lane, you need to understand what status are in, at what point does it get to you. If we're working on the top-down test for a product that's supposed to launch next week, and at this time, engineering is not done, you don't have to wait for the entire module to be done. You can proactively also take ownership of that process. Hi guys, this entire thing, I have 15 features to test. Which one have you done that is ready? I can still test right now. And before we go live, I can do a regression on the ones I have tested. That's ownership. Ownership is also ensuring that you have a plan. If your team doesn't have, you need to create one. If you don't have a strategy, your team doesn't have, you need to create one. And like Demola said, QA's role has to do with communication and taking receipts. You are the person that certify if this product is good to go. You are the last line of defense, and that role is very important in product launches or product releases or software development process. You need to know that, take it like you are, as in maybe an antivirus or the last person holding something down. If you've watched Game of Thrones, you remember hold door, and he was shouting. He kept everything, protected everyone until he couldn't do it again. You need to understand that your role has evolved than just doing regression, than just writing the script, than just testing a ticket. You need to ensure that what are the use cases that you've not thought of. Like last week, I was the one telling my QAs the use cases they have not even thought of that they should be testing, and even though it was on the requirement. So, and even when the product is done, regression is important and how we can improve. So your job is not to only detect bug, your job is also recommend improvements or lapses that we should also be fixing. So that's it for me, Toby. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much, Lyra.
Okay, thank you so much for letting me know. Is that anything else?
No, that's all from me.
Okay. Thank you so much for such an engaging, informative, and educating session. We really appreciate your time, your effort, and your knowledge. And we hope to do more with you guys soon. So thank you all very much. I think we've come to the end of today's session. If you want to rewatch it, there's a recording. You can go to our page to watch it all there. So thank you all so much and have a lovely night. Bye, guys.